All right. It is Monday, March 6th, 2017. After a long week off, I am back to streaming. So, hello, everybody who may be hanging out. Hopefully, everything's working well. I actually forgot to check, so give me a second. And it looks like everything is, so we should be good there. I had to try to remember how to do everything. It's been a week, I forgot. That's fun. Hello, Miguel. No problem. Glad you like the videos. Hopefully, they're helpful. Let's see. I'm just trying to go through some small things and catch up. I remember we're working on multiplayer, but I don't remember what we were doing last. I know it has something to do with our team map setup, and I know we managed to get multiplayer working. Oh yeah, we got teams working. Wow, we actually did a lot more than I thought, didn't we? Oh, nice. Ah, that's what it was. We never got our auto working, I don't think. I don't think we have auto working. I don't think we have team balancing. We really don't have, like, we have the basics here. We don't actually have it fully working properly. Okay, so I'll try to remember to do that. Matthew, would you be able to show me how to add a spin count variable on an object with a rotation movement component? Kyle, do you have any more information on what you're looking to achieve? What's your goal? Let me open up my playground and see if we can help you with that. And hello, Harry. And hello, Kyle, who I just was talking towards. Let's open up our playground. Store. I'm off the top of my head. I'm guessing you're trying to keep track of how many times something's spun around using the spin component. That's just my first guess off the top of my head. Let's find out. I'm pretty sure I'm showing this, right? Where'd my stream go? Okay, yeah, cool. My stream's still good. Let's see, Harry. The rotation movement component is a movement component down here, which allows it to basically rotate. Instead of having to do like lerps and timelines, it's just a component that's designed to allow something, you add it and you set it up and then it rotates. Just like the projectile movement makes something go basically forward, this one causes something to float, this one causes something to move, and this one causes something to rotate. Static mesh. I'm just setting up something right here. Oh, for the love of Pete, I can't click on scene. There we go. Okay. Whoops, I'm still failing miserably at this. Come on, seriously. Really, rotating movement component? You're going to be a pain in my butt, aren't you? Yes, you are. Oh, well, not a big deal. Okay, so... It's a box. See, that's what the rotating movement component does. It literally just allows something to rotate automatically. But for you, okay, and hello, Glitch, doing good. So, Kyle, but, sorry, I should stop saying but, oh, I also apparently have this thing unmuted. Whoa, let's fix that. Okay, add a spin counter. So basically you want to keep track of this every time it actually does a full spin. Is that what we're aiming for? Because it would be nice if there was... I don't think we're going to find anything easily built in, so let's find out. What do we have from here? Well, using just the rotating movement component, I don't think we have anything accessible just to it from the looks of it. Yeah, because that's what I was checking for. I mean, we have... This will be like along the Z. This is the local space. This is our rate. I mean, we could use our rate technically to fake it, but that probably wouldn't be smart. Now, is this just going to simply rotate, or will you be stopping it? Will it be adjustable? Because, I mean, I can think of some. I mean, because you can cheat by where to go. Variables, rotating. Because you have the. Whoops, that was the set. I wanted the getter. Because we have our rotation rate right here. Yeah, Harry's probably got the best guess in order to get accurate data. But my biggest concern on that one is um, if it's going to change at all. For example, if it stops or goes backwards or it is allowed to skip. Yeah, see, that's what I was kind of worried about. And it slows down over time, which is, of course, going to affect it. Blah. Blah, 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 blah. Yep, that's why I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to tell easily. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be an easy way of doing this. I mean, we have the rotation rate, but that would only help if it was constant. We could just do some math. These are basically how it's rotating, so not really that big of a deal. And the problem is, um, hmm. The problem is, yeah, when it spins in the other direction, technically, it's not that big of a deal because you could just do an if and then you could still do it. But technically, you could get to a point where it's rotating almost all the way a complete circle, and then if it rotates back to the same starting point, does that count as like two rotations, or does that count as a continued on? Because it's easy enough to just absolute the value, so you don't have to worry about positives or negatives. But the basic question is if, like, for example, we have this and we rotate this, and we can see where it's at now. If it rotates like this, half of a spin, and then rotates backwards half of a spin, does that count as a full spin, or does it count as zero for the spin? But I think Harry is probably the closest on the easiest way of doing this. Just check the current rotation and continually add. And if it crap, you can't continually add. You'd have to just, like it says, get the delta of the rotation. But then, of course, when it goes over, because unfortunately, with the rotation on certain axes, you have not 0 to 360. If you look here, the rotation on the Z will go from basically positive 180 to negative 180. So you can't just continually add because you're going to end up with an issue on that one. I believe yeah, see, all the rotators will do the same thing. The rotators are positive to negative 180 is what they are. I'm pretty sure it's going to stay the same in world as well. Yeah, so that's the issue we're gonna run into. Crap. Uh, I'm gonna be honest here. The better way might not to be using a rotating movement component at all. If you did your own rotation on the tick, for example, and determined how much it's supposed to spin in which direction, you'll know the amount, your delta value, like Harry's mentioning, and you'll be able to add it in manually, basically. By default, I mean, you're gonna, I mean, because we can easily, let's see, tick, and then, because we're rotating our stack map. Let's see the entire thing. The root's gonna rotate. Let me check something here for a second. Because I have a feeling it's our root that's rotating here. You know what? Let's just put our stack mesh as the root. It'll make it easier. And let's just put our rotation. I have a feeling. Oops. Stupid print string. Yeah, see, so we're going to have our positive and negative values there. That's kind of going to be an issue. So we could get the value. We could probably do a delta, just adding or subtracting. But the problem is when you go past that 180, it's going to flip itself back around because it's a rotator. A rotator is technically something really special behind the scenes. That's what I found out last week. It's not. It's really weird because it's an old holdover from Unreal Engine 3. Because there's math that's done behind the scenes to get us the values out of a rotator. But if we did something like, so let's, yeah, okay. So if we did something like, let's see. No, we want an add is what we want. That way we can just add in our delta value based on how much speed we want to give it, for example. So we did something like this. Yeah. And we're still getting the positive and negative values. It's going to be roughly the same result. Our biggest issue with stuff like this is it's frame dependent. So it would be better to run this on the timeline or normalize this out to make it frame independent. But by doing it like this, you could find your actual values and you can continually add to them. So in this case, we know our rotator is going to rotate on, you know, if we split this apart, for example, 1 on our Z, then we know that we're adding 1 to our value. So even if we're adding or subtracting, we can keep track of where it is. And then you'd constantly know once this hits over 360, you're spinning. So, I mean, you know, this is the really generic way of doing this. And good morning, Sterling and CB. Right now, someone asked about trying to keep track of an item as it rotates using the rotating movement. We really couldn't come up with an easy way of doing that. So we're trying to do something different. See if we can help out. See what we can figure out here. Yeah. So let's try, oops, float. Okay, so this is just rough off the top of my head. Let's see. We're going to grab this. We're going to add float. We're going to add the rotation speed. So this is how much it turned in this current frame to our total rotational value. Set the total rotational value to the new value. So now we'll basically, if we turned it 1, we added 1. We will be going back to multiplayer networking, see if we can figure that one out again. This will give our total rotational value. If this is greater than or equal to 360, which is what we're going to determine as a full thing, then we're going to branch out. And if it is, I'm going to move this over here for a second. So if it is, we're going to go ahead and grab our total rotational value. We're going to subtract 360 because we've done a complete loop. So we want to make sure it is set back to whatever it is. And this is here just in case we go over. We don't want to, for example, set this back to 0, because if you went over by 1 degree, you want to make sure you're just subtracting a full loop out of there. And then we'll get this number and we'll increment it because we've gone up 1 full loop, like that. And then we can grab this code right here. Let's delete that, grab our print, and we'll put our total rotations into here. And this should be, the only time we care about it is when it's greater than 360. Okay, so let's see what happens. Yep, okay. So obviously something's not working right there. So let's see if we can figure this one out. Add rotation speed. So we're going to add 1. We're going to set it. So this should eventually hit 360, shouldn't it? Unless my brain doesn't work properly this morning. 0, resume. 1, okay, nope, we're good there. So that should be fine. Oh. Let's see, true. Okay. Okay, hold on a second. Let's see what we did. Whoops, not simulate. Okay, no, whoop, didn't mean to F on that one. Okay. Maybe it's just the fact that 360 looks different when it's actually spinning on a freaking cube. Okay. Yeah, you know, that's what it is. It's the fact that 360 is really hard to see on a cube. It just looks like it's going slower than it actually is. 1. I'm actually watching. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So yeah, this is basically keeping track of the number of rotations in the top left, as you can see. And based on our actual rotation speed, so if we set this to like 5, it'll rotate faster, and our number will increment faster in the top left, as you can see. This is, I don't know exactly if it's going to get a result you want in terms of the rotation, but this might be the easiest way to keep track of it, because all you're doing is literally just adding whatever your rotational value is. You'll have to probably figure out something if you want to spin it the other direction, because if we do set our rotational value to something like -5, then it's going to spin the other direction, but our values are never going to increment properly. So it'd be more something like rotation speed. We could absolute that out. That means it's always going to be a positive value. So now our number should still increment, even though it's spinning the other direction. So as long as you're spinning it only in one direction at a time, not like spinning it all the way around and then it stops and spins the other way, or you take that into account. For example, you assume once it starts going backwards, you just automatically increment your rotations. So that way, if it's a partial spin, it counts as a full spin type thing. You know, lots of smaller stuff. This is probably what I would start with personally. The rotational one works good, but as you saw, we can't really pull any data from there in terms of keeping track of it. The only way you're going to get data from it is if you check it like every tick when it actually spins. And since we're already checking it on the tick, we could have full control. I mean, technically, if we wanted to use our rotating movement, we do have our rate right here. So for example, but see, the rotational rate doesn't quite work the same as doing it this way. That's, oh man. Long story short, using the rotating movement, you could probably make it work if you checked the delta of the rotation every frame and you did some absolution in order to determine if it was positive or negative. And then you did some sort of subtraction based on if it's positive or negative, and you kept track of it. I mean, there's lots of stuff you could do to make this work. But if you switch it over to manual control, basically you control the rotation per tick or per interval, then you'll know how much you rotated it, which allows you to do some basic math to allow us to keep track of it. I think this is a delta node. There may be a delta node, but I didn't see anything. Well, actually, I didn't type delta. Let's find our rotating movement again. Yeah, there's nothing coming up directly for a delta. There's a delta rotator the difference between two rotations, which might give you the result like you're talking about in terms of if you've got the stuff. But I don't know how well that would work. I just using the rotating movement. It's designed to okay. So the movement components here, these are meant for simple things. You toss the movement component on there, and it does what it's supposed to do. Gives you the ability to float, so basically no gravity. Makes something move from point to point really easily using interpolation. Projectiles just, hey, I want a bullet, or I want a rocket, or I want a homing missile. And rotating movement is just like you saw, you literally could drop it on there and something starts rotating. Makes it super simple, but it doesn't give you a lot of options and customizability. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to fix your problem. Hopefully I gave you some options. This at least gives you a way to make it work. There's obviously some more math involved, but if you keep track of your rotational values, basically by you choosing the rotational values per frame, then you can easily just keep track of your spins like you're talking about. So we'll go with that for now. No, it's basically going to go from negative 180 to positive 180 is how the rotators work. So once you hit, once you hit the positive 180, it's going to wrap back over to the negative 180. I'm pretty sure. Man, now you're going to make me look and figure that out. Rotators confuse me. They do what they're supposed to do to try to prevent things like gimbal lock, and I understand that. It's just math-wise, they confuse the crap out of me. So we go negative to positive. Yeah, so it looks like it flips between our positive. And actually, if you want to get technical, I don't think 180 actually works in terms of when you're using it. It always goes between like 179.9999. It always has a floating point error. Just super annoying when you're rotating. If you'll notice, you'll see it slightly doing that. Okay, let's go back over to Playground. Okay, so we were working on multiplayer in theory last time, if I remember something. And let me drop this down to something more reasonable, like 3 players. And we got to the point where we could have auto team picking. And we had that in theory working, but we just had no team balancing. So technically auto, I would assume, unless I'm wrong here, if I was to go to team 1, and then hit auto, I should become blue. It should try to auto balance. That's what I would assume. And obviously we never implemented that. We just simply keep our auto flip-flopping back and forth between however many teams we have. So that seems like something I should work on, because that's just a little bit of math there. And other than that, I think we got everything else working. And we got our UI working. We made it where, if I remember correctly, let's see, we have 8 spots. So if we were to have 9, was it? If we had 9 people spawn up. Whoa. I literally don't know what just happened. That's kind of cool. Guess we're about to find out. What the hell? Yeah, all I did was hit play. Oh, I hit launch apparently on accident is what happened. Okay. Yeah, we had it set up where it would... there we go. Just bear with me while we go through all these. Where it wouldn't allow us to add the last person, right? Once we got to our maximum number. So we should have 8 spawn points, 8 people, and then our last one should not spawn. Yep, okay, cool. So that worked. And yes, I named my PC Death PC. Okay, cool. So that worked. Okay, so a lot of our basic code worked. It looks like we might be able to wrap up this basic game map today is what I'm hoping. Because there's something else I want to work on the rest of the week that I started playing with yesterday that sounded like a lot of fun. I think we're actually getting to the point where I know we've got the basics of networking understood in terms of replication and how notify, multicast, server authority and things like that work, I think we can do the basics of networking, actually showing other people how they work. So what were we working on? Okay, let's get team balance working is what we want to do. So let's see if we can remember how this is set up, because somebody forgot to comment everything again. I'm not going to say who, but it was me. Okay. So we figured out it's going to be on our this, right? Yeah. And this one just, let's see, next team number, it increments it and it goes from there. So that's all that one does. Starts it, yeah, okay. So our issue here is our next team number technically never increment, or our next team number is stupid. Let's just put it that way. We never try to auto balance. I wonder if we even need the next team number anymore. So here's a question. Let's say, sorry about that. Let's say someone joined a server like this, and they're the first person playing, and they hit auto. So for native auto balancing, should it automatically assume it's the first team, or should it just randomly pick a team to put them on just because? I'm thinking we should make it where it randomly puts them on a team based on balancing rules, and then we don't have to worry about things like our next team number anymore. Yeah, we're not going to get fancy. We're just going to have a built-in auto balancing system. So if we technically hit auto for 8 clients, we should end up with 4 on each team. Right now we don't, because we have a really dumb auto system in place, which worked fine, but I think it's stupid. I think we need to fix this, is what we need to do. So let's see about fixing that. So the local team number, this is the team number we're going to be assigning them to. So we need to set up our local team number. This code right here, this is the auto team. We need to figure this out properly. So what I'm thinking is, let's make a new function so we can keep our code nice and tight. And we'll do determine player team number. We'll go with that. Because remember, I did mention a lot of our code was coupled together too tightly because we were still learning. So what we're going to do is, I'm literally going to delete all this because I feel like it. And we're going to do, if their team is 0, that's the auto balance, then we are going to determine what team number they're on. And this should have an output of new team number, like that. It's an integer. Go back to here. We're going to set the local team number, because that's what we're going to assign it to. And then plug this in here. And look at all that ugly code just got compacted. Moves over here, like that. Still kind of ugly, but we'll work on that. Okay, there we go. There we go. So determine player team number, and that's just going to give us our local team number, and then so we end up with either manually assigned local team number or an auto assigned team number here. Cool. And the nice thing is, depending on the rules, you could, which we don't have in here because again this is basic, you could always set up something where you just don't allow them to choose a local team number, and then we don't have an issue. Do you keep the team numbers anywhere, or is it just expressed as a virtual number determined by each player's team? The team number is given to the player itself, correct. It is set inside both the player controller and inside of the player itself. We end up with both of them. So the player itself does end up knowing their team number. We do the player controller here, and then once we return it, we give it to the player in their spawning code. Because a lot of that is also unnecessary code. Okay, so determine team number. Let's disconnect this and put it over here. What is the best way to determine the player team number? We're going to need to see what players we have where. And did we ever do that? Did we ever keep track of our players? Who is assigned to what team? Number of players in a team. No, I don't think we've ever done that. Which I think is right here. I just don't think we ever did anything with it yet. Let's actually find out. Find references. Nope, we have never used this one. That is what this was supposed to be. Players was supposed to be the number of players in our game, which I technically haven't done anything with. So now we need to figure out what's the best way of doing this. Our game mode keeps track of the player controllers. It keeps track of the ID. Let's see. So int player ID, player controller, player controller. I know that's kind of redundant, but at least lets us know for the map what each one is. So should we just... We could set up another map where basically we map the ID to the team. You know what? Let's try that. You know what? Let's try that, because why not? Let's set up... I like maps. They're very useful. And this is just going to be an integer and an integer, so that makes it easy. And we'll do int equals player ID, int equals, oh my gosh, I think I'm offset on my desk right now. There we go. So we're going to do that. We are going to fill up the players. So this is, so what's better name of labeling this? Players. I guess players is good enough for now. We'll call it players. Okay. So actually we need to set this somewhere, don't we? I think we're going to need to set it here. Where do we determine the player ID at? Do we actually use that anywhere? Let's see. Let me see if I do... I'm trying to put this in the right place. Vanguard, yeah, we are learning networking, and I'm just trying to knock out a little basic game mode here. Yeah, see, these are all going to fail if there's too many things here. Hello, Alex M. I don't want to assign it here, because technically... this should only fill up with valid values. And right now we have things remove themselves at the appropriate spot. Right here. We do have them remove themselves from the player controller, right? When the player tries to log in. Man, networking is so friggin' confusing. You know what? There's another bug right there that I didn't think about. Okay, good. So it's not this is not technically a bug. This is one of those issues where we're in the process of trying to clean up some of the code. When the player logs in, we assign their ID to the player controller array, which is fine. Not a problem. The problem is... we end up spawning them in, and then inside of this code, when they spawn in, we end up destroying them if they're not in there, but I don't think we ever get rid of yet. So let me double check this. Let me check something before I do this. This is debugging right now. So let's get the game. See, only the server is going to have the game mode too, because this technically, yeah, this is, okay, so let's see, get game mode. Seriously, can't drag off to get game mode. So annoying. Cast to team game mode. Let's pure this. Let's get the player. Oh, what the hell did I call it? Player controllers. That's going to be annoying that this is not a map icon. Okay, and then I'm going to... oops, I want to print string. I want to see what happens when I have too many in here. length. There we go. Okay. So let me see what happens here. Whoops. Yeah, technically I don't have... Crap, we broke all of that code. Well, I didn't break that code technically. I kind of, let's put them all on team 1 for now. There we go. Okay. Yeah, we know this is going to fail, but I also, what I need to get to fail is when I have too many assigned is what I want to see. Auto, yeah, okay. So that code, I never even saw a printout. This didn't print out. Does this never get called? So annoying. Okay, yeah, that was a debug. I don't think this, I think this is an extra debug. Let's figure this out. Let's see, mapping player ID to team ID necessary. Since you already have player controllers mapped to the player ID, can you get the team from that? Or is the team number not tracked on the controller? The team number is tracked on the controller. I mean, there's lots of ways of doing this. And hello, Kazume. I just don't know the right way of doing it right now. We were just trying to figure it out. I'm trying not to do anything more stupid at this point. And at this point in time, I'm failing miserably at making things not stupid. Should we just assign them a team before they choose the player start? If they do, you know what? Okay, so the custom choose player start code that we have in here is called in here, and we're basically telling you which player start to pick. Is there any reason why we're not choosing the player start before we even tell them to go to the start, so that way we completely bypass all this stupid code in here? Would not be smarter to determine their team number before we even tell them to choose a player start? That's what I'm leaning towards right here. When we call spawn player, basically because we have the option of doing right here, determine player number right here. Okay, let's see something here. Okay, I wonder if this would have been smarter right here. We can't have two of those. Yeah, I'm trying to find the correct place to put this to decouple it. Because when the server calls spawn player, that means it's going to spawn a player into the world, and it's going to determine where it spawns based on the team number. If that team number is 0 and it's random, shouldn't it be fed into our spawn player node here, so then we never have to worry about custom code in here? This code is basically becomes stupid because all we're doing is checking in multiple places. We end up doing this basically. I mean, we're putting the same code in multiple places at this point in time. If we do that, we pull it out of there, go back to our spawn player code. This one needs to be the proper one, so we'll pull this back one. We'll go to our spawn player in our event graph. This code right here should have the proper team number put in. So let's just make this one have an input, so this way it keeps it cleaner. Desired, yeah, this would be smarter is what I'm thinking, because if they desire team blue, for example, and team blue is full, then we should auto assign them to something else. So basically, only let them. So yeah, so we can, this would give us more options. What this is going to let us do? Okay. So this goes in, feeds into there. This disconnects from here. This feeds into here. This is our player controller. There we go. This is really friggin' ugly looking without redirects. Or redirects, reroute nodes. I meant to say. But we have something like this would be smarter. So when we ask it which team we want to join in, we're gonna basically let's turn this into we'll just call it determine. Validate might be a better name. We'll just call it determine player number. And here we go. So if this is, yeah, okay, cool. This will work. That'll work. That cleans up a lot of the code and lets us put all of the team number stuff into here. Let's see. Do you know a way of making instances of maps for certain players, like their personal hideouts that everyone will have a copy of their own that they can set up them however they want? Kazume, yeah, you can make an instance of a map. If it's a map, you do, I think it's make instance. Make, spawn, oh, what's it called? Seriously? Here we go. Load level instance. This spawns in a instance of a level, specifically for whatever. So this is what you could use the load level instance node, and it will basically spawn in a copy of a map, is what it'll do. And then you could just have them go into that specific version of it and then set it up however you want. That's probably the easiest way to do that. Alex, good to hear that you're able to create a health regen system. How would you create texture animation, for example, where a character's hand would turn black with animation like it would have been burned? Blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Okay, so for something like that, you're basically going to look at masking and lerping is what it is. So for example, I don't have anything up right now that could do it. But let's see. What you want to do is you want to do this. Here's probably the best example of what you're looking for. You just would have to make sure your textures and your your masks are set up properly. Go ahead and go into your content examples. It's free on the learning tab. And what you want is the really, really cool example in here. I want to say, guess it's this one. It might be experimental. Let's see if we can figure out. Hell, it might be advanced. There's so many friggin' nodes in here. Okay, it's not this one. Let's see if we can find it. But there's one I'm working for that pretty much does exactly what you're asking for. Nope, this is the rocket one. Oh, where's it at? Let's see. So that was... Let's try instances. Nope. Okay, we've only got a couple material nodes in here to go through. Gone through advanced. I'm pretty sure I did experimental, right? Nope. Okay, so which friggin' one is it? Advanced experimental instances, nodes, properties. Okay, I don't think it's any of those. Which one is it? There's so many cool things in here, but I don't remember which one it is that I'm looking for. Mainly because these icons really don't help. Crap. Let's see if we can find it under the materials then. Okay, let's see if we can find. Oh, why do I have that selected? Crap. Of course, I can't remember what it's called. There is okay. So basically, there's a really cool example in here that allows you to adjust. You basically shoot a fiery item with ice, or you can shoot an icy item with fire. And using the materials, it allows it to heat up and cool down. And you use material instances and parameters to adjust it. That would be the perfect example to show you what I'm trying to talk about. But I literally can't remember which example it's under. I could swear it was one of those ones, but it's none of these ones from what I can tell. Effects. Let's try effects. Yes, everyone should know about the content examples. It is a fantastic way to learn stuff. Okay, so these are special effects, so that really doesn't help. There's not in here. It's in the damn material. Okay, let's go through all the materials again. Nope. 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 Damn it. That was advanced. Experimental was... Yeah, these are the different types of anisotropy and opacity. I could swear it would have been in the instanced one because of the way it was set up. Nope, I'm not missing anything, right? Nothing hidden. Nope. Let's see, so those are instances. This is the generic nodes. I highly doubt it's in here. But I've been wrong before. We'll find out. Oh, that's not fast forward. That's slow down. Nope. Damn. It's got to be under parameters. That's what makes no sense. Okay. This is definitely as annoying. Yep. Okay. Well, crap. Okay. Let's see if we can Google this. Let's see. UE4 material, ice, and fire. Let's see if we can find the one we're looking for. Physical materials, but I don't see that in here. And hello Alex and Josh and all that. Everything's going good here. Just trying to find this stupid example that I literally can never find half the time. It's a fantastic example for this. Material, melting ice. Let's see, content example. Blueprint communication. Seriously? Blueprint communications. Yeah, CB just mentioned it. Apparently, it's the one I just found the reference to. Why the hell is the materials in the blueprint communications? This is so a material example. Yep, this one right here. This is one of the coolest friggin' examples ever. Let me compile the shaders out for a second. But this should help in terms of trying to understand the material instancing and layering and lerping between different things. Okay, so let's run this from here. So when you shoot these things, you can see them getting affected, like this one. And the more you shoot it, the more it catches on fire, and you can see it lerping to this burning material. Or you can shoot water at it, and you'll see it get set out, and then eventually it turns into something else. You can do this one and heat it up, or do the opposite and get it down. You can freeze this ice ball and melt this ice ball. And it's all using the material instances. Looking at something like this is what you're looking for, because you want something similar like that. And it's just going to go from one, type of material, and the more you apply it, the more it lerps into a second type. And then you have an effect like that. So you'd set up your masking and your material where the hand is different, basically masked off, and you have it blending between your regular your regular material. Oh, for fuck's sake! Your regular texture of your hand to the burn texture of the hand, and then you just lerp between the two pictures. It's not that difficult. They're a little, where's it at? Where is my sphere material? Here we go. They're not that complicated. If you look at this, it kind of seems like it is, but basically you have a parameter that comes in saying how burnt it is, and you have a texture sample, and this is the cracks, basically, and you're basically saying, depending on how burnt it is, you're going to go between nothing, so the normal metal texture, and this burny texture right here. And all you're doing inside of here is every time it gets hit, these are our damage right here, it basically says, well, am I hit by heat or water, or what am I being hit by? And then it sets those values inside of the material. It says, hey, you're getting hotter, let's go ahead and change your burnness value. Or there's heat, or there's wetness, you're changing all your values right here. So you're saying, hey, material, these are your new values. And the material goes, okay, well, if I'm burnt more, I'm going to show more of my burnt texture. And if I'm wet more, I'm going to show more of my wet texture. And if I'm, where are the other ones at? Here, the heat texture, I'm going to start changing between the orange and the yellow. So I'm going to start glowing more, basically. That's what those basically do. And that's a really simple explanation of it. But the lerp is your friend in terms of materials. So like, for example, you could have a grass parameter right here, and then you have a rock texture and a grass texture, and you lerp them together. And the more you fill out your grass number, the more grass gets shown. And the more you don't show your grass, the more rock gets shown. That's your basic. Lerps are friggin' lerps. It's basically lerps. If you go to the other material one, where did that one go to? Again, another one I can't find. It was a really cool one where there was grass on the ground. Seriously, how come I can never find stuff whenever I want it? I can never remember half of these. Was it this one? No. There was a really cool one where it had grass on the ground, and you could interactively change between the two different lerps. And it would allow you to learn lerps really nicely. Maybe it's under math. Maybe it's under math? I don't know. I would highly recommend, if you guys haven't seen the content examples before, block out a day and go through every single one of these examples. Even if you don't know any of the stuff. Yeah, here we go. This is what I was looking for. Yeah, even if you don't have any clue what half of this stuff is, in terms of, like, especially the math hall confuses the hell out of me because I'm not a math anything. I'm like a second grader at math. But it's really cool because even if you don't understand the concepts, you get really cool ideas, and you can go, oh, I never knew we could do this, and then you can actually break it apart and try to figure it out. One of the things I plan on doing this year, assuming I have enough time, is I'm actually going to go through the content examples and break them apart and explain how all the content examples work. Let's see, where's the one I wanted? Lerp, here we go. Yeah, these ones are really cool. I like these ones. See, like this one, you can see lerping with a radial going from all grass to all rock, and that shows how you can lerp back and forth. And same thing with this one. This one's just literally going from one texture to another, like I was explaining. And you do basically the same thing. You have like your normal hand and you have your burnt hand, and it would slowly change to the other. Or you'd use something like this is a height mask. So basically the top to the bottom. You'd have something like that where it goes from like the fingertips going burnt all the way back to the wrist type thing. And there's like I said, there's a ton of cool examples in here. If you have no idea what they do. One of my favorites, just so I can finish this up before we go back, is this is one they added in recently, which I still have no idea how this works. There's just so much math behind this stuff, but these things are so cool. Come on, finish compiling. You can finish compiling. This is the one where you get to draw on a render target. You're just basically drawing on a texture itself, and it has the water one where you get to draw water puddles. And this is not anything physical. This is a texture. It's just a flat plane with a mesh, not a mesh, a material on top of it. And all you're doing is modifying the material wherever you click on it. Really freaking confusing if you don't know math, but really cool and fun to play with. But this is the type of stuff you could use once you understand it, where, for example, let's say you had a wall and you want to allow someone to use graffiti. They could, because this is just doing it height-based, but you could just do color-based. You could have them actually draw right on a wall, and, you know, in real time. They could make their own graffiti or stuff like that. Or as you can see, you could make your own height masks for stuff like that. And it's just using a simple texture. It's all it's doing. It's using a material, which is, where is, there is a giant friggin', see, like I said, it's just right here. It's just a plane. It's literally just a plane with a material put on top of it. And I wish I could find the original one. The original one's in here somewhere, but I can't remember where it's at. Yeah, the original one's super friggin' complicated, which I can't remember, like, at all. I wonder if they made it easier. You know what? They may have actually made this easier. I think maybe the code itself was what I had confusion about. Yeah, here we go. This is the one I was getting confused about. This is the actual code that converts the mouse clicks into things like force and heights and stuff like that. Water simulation, fluid simulation is what I meant to say. But all the code's here for playing with. Okay, so let's close down that one since I got confused. There's also really cool. There's a really cool networking one in there too. Okay, I think we were working on team number. So how do we do this? So let's assign to our player array the team number. And I know Harry mentioned this earlier, why we can't just grab it out of here because it's stored in there. I'm just doing this to make it easier. It's just another reference to make things simpler. I don't think this is the right way, but I want to try to get something working before we try to condense some more stuff. I just actually want to see if I can get something working. So this is going to be passed in. Determine team number is going to determine which team number it should go on, and then pass out the valid new team number. In order to do that, we will assign in here to our players. So in the team numbers is when we're going to assign this one right here. And set players. Not set, add. These things confuse the hell out of me sometimes. Okay. So we are going to end up doing this at some point. So we need to grab our current players right here. And we're going to, it's find, right? No, count. Oh, what's the friggin' one I want? Contains, finds, keys, length. There we go. What I want is values, right? That's what we determined we're going to do. The values, oh, you know what'd be smarter? If we did it like this. Key is player ID, value equals team. So that way we actually made it smarter for people like me who can't remember. So this is going to give you all the values in here, and then we're just going to loop through all of them. Shit. What's the easiest way of getting... Well, I'm trying to make this as dynamic as possible because we can't always assume we're going to have two teams. And we don't want to set like a variable for team 1, team 2, team 3. We just want to stuff in the ID and the team number. So we need to somehow... Now, let's assume at a worst case scenario we had 3 teams. We have 2 people on the first team, 1 person on the next, and 0 on the last. We basically want to make sure we fill up that last slot because we have 0 in it. So we need to figure out the best way. So if our player array was set up with player map was set up, we can grab all of our values. Is there a way to get the result? I can do the length, which is fine, but I wouldn't be able to get the length of a certain set of values. The list could do that. Not the list. The stupid set could do that. I'm starting to think the easiest way, the only way I'm going to be able to do this is with a crap. This may be overkill. I think Harry may have had a good point about the fact that we can always pull this out of the player controller later. Let's switch this over. I think I remember my original idea with this. Let's go back to my original idea. Let's switch this back to a array. And what we're going to do is the array is... Stop it. Please stop it. Thank you. We don't need this anymore. This is going to be number of players per team number. So if we get the item at index 0, then it's going to give us back everyone on team 0, etc., etc. So in this case, we're just going to for each loop through this. Yeah, we'll do this really simply, like this. Let's not worry about auto team balance if the desired team number. So what we're going to do is we are going to select. Try to switch. Now switch. Oh, shoot. I deleted something. Now, we can't do switch because that's a fixed number. We can't do select. Okay, so we're just going to have to do an if, which I can't drag off there. In case no one's noticed, my brain is like working in hyperdrive today. I'm trying to do this as smart as possible. Okay, so if it's team 0, we're gonna auto team them. We're gonna run our special code. If it's not team 0, we're just simply going to return out the team number that they chose. Is what we're gonna do. We're gonna make that one really simple. So if they choose team 1, we'll go to team 1. They choose team 2, we'll go to team 2. They choose team 0, we're gonna run through our special code. Is what we're gonna do. And our special code is going to loop through all of our arrays. All of our players. We're going to ignore team 0. So we don't need to worry about that. So let's see. So our loop body, let's see, array index. If this is equal to 0, and this may not be the smartest way of doing this, but I'm just going to skip basically if you're on team 0. We're going to do nothing. If we're not on team 0, not team 0, number of players. We're going to get the, we're going to get this value, and we're going to set it. So let's do a local variable. Let's see, lowest count, lowest player count, team number. There we go. And that should not be an array. That should have been an integer. Thank you. Go and set this right here. We're automatically going to assume, yeah, we don't want to do that. That was stupid. So let's see this. And if this is greater than the lowest team count number, that's not going to work. No, yes, it should return a fail if the teams are too unbalanced, but that's not something to worry about right now. We don't have anything that works, so we don't want to worry about making it better. Let's just worry about making it work first. That's our biggest key. Right now, if I was to hit play, I have nowhere for anyone to spawn. That's my biggest issue. We can worry about making things smarter. Right now, we just need our actual auto team balancing to try to team balance, regardless of if they chose something. We just need our auto button working again. Okay, this is really stupid. But I'm just going to do this because it's a lot quicker in terms of what I'm trying to do. Okay, so we're going to get our number of players on team. If it's greater than, not greater than or equal to, greater than, there we go, okay. So we'll go through, we're at element 1. Let's say our elements are filled up with 0, 1, and 0. We're going to ignore the first one. Team 1 will have 1 player, Team 2 will have 0 players. So we're going to go through, our element right here is going to be 1. We're going to have 1 for our value. Is that greater than our current number of players on our team? If it is, then we're going to go ahead and set that as our values. Again, this is really silly, but we want something working right now. We're going to set these 2 variables. So the number of players on our team is going to be equal to the value we just pulled out, and the lowest count team number is going to be equal to our index, like that. So in theory, if these are working correctly here, we should basically go through. We're going to skip the first one, no matter what, because it's team 0, so we don't care about team 0. We're going to check and see how many people are in team 1. We're going to compare that to how many players we currently have on a team. So this technically needs to be -1 because we might have 0. If that number is greater, number of players, this should be the opposite right here. Let's unhook this one. If the number in our element is greater than the number of teams, so 0 is greater than -1, then that means that is going to be our new team we want to spawn someone on. We'll pop that information into here and we'll repeat. We'll go to our next one and it will continue. We should never worry about replacing. Yeah, okay, I think this will work. Let's see what happens. My brain says it'll work. If it actually works is what we're going to find out here in a second. And then, yeah, then we should have another return node right here. So this should be pretty simple. And then we're just going to return back the lowest player count team number. Let's see what happens. I'm optimistic. I really don't even remember if I hooked that up right or not, but let's find out. Let's see, auto. Okay, obviously something is wrong because we're getting green for everybody. So obviously someone broke something. We're not going to say it was definitely me. So that's going to be right. Let's see, here, right? Okay, so that code is never getting called. So did I ever hook it up? I guess that would be the smart way to check. Yeah, determine player number right there. Okay. Try this again. Call auto. Okay, so that code gets called. It pops into here. Let's see, frame skip, frame skip, frame skip. Desired team 0, if it's equal to 0, cool. Frame skip. We'll go through our loop. And it's going to return back this. Our players array. Oh, our players array is empty because I'm a dum-dum and never initialized it. Yep. So we're automatically going to fail back to -1 for our team. So our players array should default when the game mode starts to the number of teams we have. So here we go. So our players array, and then we're going to say array element, and this one will be really simple. They'll default to 0, so I'm not worried about that. And we're going to set our index of our max number of teams. Let's see, 2 teams means I'm going to need 0. Yeah, we want 0, 1, and 2. Yeah. Index 2. Yep, so we're good there. And set size to fit. And 0. Okay, let's see what happens here now, shall we? Auto, go back into here. I lost my cursor. Frame skip, frame skip, frame skip, frame skip. Frame skip, frame skip, frame skip, frame skip, frame skip. There we go. Now we have an actual array filled with values. That's what I was trying to accomplish. Resume, uncheck, resume. We still have green, which is horribly not correct. So let's run this without debug mode on. Whoops. There we go. Auto. Okay, so yeah, we're still under there. Yep. So we figured out the first issue. Arrays, again, biting me in the butt because I always forget you have to initialize them or resize them because I will literally forget every single time. So our problem was somewhere in here. And let's see if we can figure this one out, shall we? So let's hit play, go back in here, hit auto. This is going to set it, yeah, current value is 0. Let's frame skip, frame skip, frame skip, frame skip. I friggin' hate going through loops inside of here. We are on, where are we at right now? What's our index? Seriously, you're not going to let me see the index that we're on? Really? Frame skip. Oh, okay, let's, I think I'm going to have to do the good old-fashioned debug, print debugging here. Let me make sure this is connected properly. Okay, yeah, if the array index is 0, we want, oh, crap. Seriously, who did that? Who hooked up the wrong node? Who hooked up the wrong execution wire? Okay, cool. Obviously, we have an issue here, but we at least fixed that first one. It would help if we had the correct execution wire running, because we wanted to fire on everything but the first one. Okay, cool. So this is good, and we're all good here. So our problem is this is assigning properly. We're never actually updating our player array anywhere, which is fine. Everything else is working good. So that's what we need to put in right here. So we'll do this. And we're going to grab our players, and we are going to, let's see, we're going to get the value out of our lowest player count team number. So this is the one we've decided we want to add a person to. And then we're going to add, and I could increment. No, we can't increment because of out of the array. We don't want to do that. We're going to grab that value, we're going to add 1 to it, and then we're going to grab our players array again. We're going to set array element. This will be index of the lowest player count team number. Check. And our new value will be this value right here. And we'll make sure size to fit is turned on because I keep breaking stuff when I don't do that. Okay, so let's try that one. Spawn up stuff, auto, nope, still broke something. So the question is, what did we break? Seems like it's right, correct? We're going to grab the number of players for the lowest team. So this should be index 1. Add 1 to the value. Grab the player array at index 1. Add the new value, which should be 1, and it should be done. And then we'll return the new team. The next time we come through, we should have 1. If the element 1 is greater than... Oh, okay, this is wrong. This math is horribly, horribly wrong right here. Yeah, I think I dum-dummed this one right here, too. So let's say we walk through this. Let's say array element... Yeah. So we're purposely trying to assign it to a team that is fuller. Is what we're trying to do. Our number of players on team would be, for example, 0. Or -1 by default, then it's going to come up with 1. So we want the lowest one, not the highest one. Yeah, I'm finding max this way. Yeah, I'm going the opposite direction. So we want less than is what we want. So if the element is less than... pretty sure that's what we want right there. But I'm still going to have an issue here because this is going to end up with 0. And, oh, so you know what? You know what's funny about this? This right here, yep. No, this right here, in here is where we can put the code in terms of if it's got a valid team we can join. Because if we set that up to the max number of players right here, no, it would be number of players per team. So if there's some math there we'd have to do. Well, let me get rid of this. Oh, no, apparently it's in use. Can't do that. Let's get rid of that one. There we go. Okay. So what kind of math do we assign here? This is my thought process. I'm trying to automate everything as much as possible. Someone comes in, someone would set up this game mode, and they go, okay, well, I want 4 teams, and I want... So max number of players... See, so that's where the question comes in. Let's say you were setting up this game mode. Would you do it number of teams and the number of players per team, or number of teams and the maximum number of players? Which do you think feels more appropriate? For example, 4 teams with a total of 16 players, or 4 teams with a total of 4 players per team? I guess you'd have to, you probably have to account for both and have that adjustable based on whatever you wanted. So for this purpose, I'm trying to figure out, we're just trying to do a basic auto balance here. So let's do that. Let's do number of teams and let's do max number of players is what we're going to do. We're just going to do a really simple thing here. Okay. So how do we automate this in terms of code? This is the number of players on the team when we pull this out. And we can easily check and see if this is going to be better. Well, we'll put that check in later. Kian, basically we're trying to finish wrapping up our game mode that we started on a little bit ago for learning networking. We're just trying to get auto team balancing working. The funny part is this has less to do with networking than anything else we've done. It's just literal pure math behind the scenes. I mean, technically it has to do with networking, but not really, because all we're doing is just assigning stuff. Well, the maximum number of players should technically always be the largest number ever. Okay. Yeah, okay. I'm trying to set up, because right now we have our number of players on our team defaulting to -1, which won't work properly. I'm trying to set it up where it will work properly, even if we have a larger number. So all I'm going to do is set the maximum number of players per team to our max number of players for now. This way it'll always start off as a large number, and then we'll go down from there at our first iteration. Yeah, let's see if that works. Oops. Why do we have an error? Oh, seriously? Apparently I had a variable that I deleted, so that's friggin' awesome. Even though it'll let me get rid of it, I still, number of valid players. It was in use, it still let me get rid of it. That is funny. That seems like a possible bug. Number valid players. Okay. Oh, that's annoying. Yep. You guys saw that. It let me delete it even though it technically didn't exist anymore. There we go. Okay, there we go. That's okay. So our auto team balancing is working basically. And yes, it'll be saved on YouTube. Okay. Yeah, keep in mind I am reading the chat, and yes, a lot of people are bringing up edge cases and issues and auto team balancing and allowing people to join and stuff like that. And yes, those are all things that should be accounted for. But first, we need to make it work before we can do that. And that's what we were technically working on there. Okay, and it's working. We've got the basics working here. The key here is, the reason I was asking is our number of players on team. This is basically our way we're keeping track of how many players are on the team number that we're going to assign our player to. So we can compare it as we iterate through our players. That number had to be some set number, and I didn't want to just arbitrarily say 99, because what if you're in a game and you're allowing 120 people on your server? So I wanted to somehow not arbitrarily, but somehow set it to a value we would be using. So I'm just going to set it to the max number of players, because then you should never, ever have more than that, because that's what we're setting up as. And then we go through and we check. Okay, so that worked. That worked perfectly fine. So now if we go back to something like 4 players and run this, we should be able to get 2 players per team. Like that. See? And that worked. So our auto actually works properly. What I'm curious about, though, because I'm pretty sure I don't have the proper code set up, we're kind of back to where we were before. Technically, auto should give me green, blue, and it didn't. And as you can see, we kind of have issues there. And that's because when we run this node right here to auto assign, we're not incrementing our values over here, which is cool. The nice thing is we can easily just do that. We need this actual code. So if someone's going to manually assign them, then we need to go ahead and do this bit of code right here. I don't actually know if this bit of code is... can I just copy this whole thing right here? Let's find out. Because in theory, that's the entire bit of code. What happens if we do this? That's not going to work because we never assign certain values. We never assign this value. And we never assign... Let's see... no, that should... So, okay, you know what? So if we were to technically go, let's see, lowest player team count number, set... If we were to do this... I've never done something weird like this where you interrupt another line. If we do that... I literally have no idea if this code is going to work. It looks really funny. Okay, so our auto still works like we expected it. If we run this and we tell it we want team 2, then auto should pick a team red. This should pick a team red, and this should pick a team blue. Okay. And then let's say we did team 1, and then we did auto. And auto, there we go. Look at that. See? Okay. And if we were to do team blue, team blue, team blue, auto, team red. Cool. Okay. This is, I'm just going to say right now, really friggin' ugly coding, because there's no reason you should ever flow from one section to another section that's used by something else. But I just wanted to see if it would work, honestly. And we know it works. It's kind of ugly as heck, but it does work. Okay, cool. Okay. So there's, keep in mind this project, I don't, in case people who haven't hung out for long enough in terms of doing this project is just for learning how the networking works. All of this is going to be redone completely and properly for the actual videos for training purposes. We basically make it really dirty and muddy, and then we make it clean for everyone else. We just wanted this functional. Okay, so going back to all the other complaints, what is the biggest issue that you guys see missing now? We have basic auto balancing. So if I picked auto, it should fill itself out automatically. So even if we did something like auto, a blue, and then we hit auto, it should give us a red. Yes, the nodes are screaming, please refactor me. Trust me on that one, I'm well aware of that. This is literally a scratch pad reference is all we're doing right now. That's why this is on the live streams, and that's why when I actually show people how to do stuff, it does not have stuff like this. This is awesome in the fact that it worked. I would be curious to see what the code behind this looks like. But in implementation, this is so horrible. I do not have a spectator. That is a good point. Nope, I don't have spectating at all set up. I have it where if it gets too full, it won't let you spawn. So let's actually do that. Let's nuke. Whoops. Let's go ahead and do something like that. We're going to set it up really simply like that. And let's see, team number 1, team number 2, team number 1. So we have 3 spawn points. We spawn in 4 games. This should give me that. And then we ended up with obviously something wrong. So we have some definite code in here that's not happy. So our auto code, and now I'm guessing maybe it's because of my max number of players. Let's actually set this up properly because we don't have this set up properly at all. Let's see what happens when we do this. Keep in mind, half this code, I don't remember what it does from last week. There we go. So that was our issue. We had the max number set up wrong. So we're good there. We just don't actually turn them into spectators. And keep in mind, this is not going to be a full multiplayer game. This is learning how we can do certain things with networking. So honestly, at this point, the game mode for networking purposes is pretty much done. Anything dealing with networking, we've kind of done already. We can spawn people in based on the user interface. We can auto team balance. The server keeps track of things. I mean, if we're going to be honest, the basics of a team game mode setup in terms of balancing and assigning players to spawn points is technically done. I don't remember how to set up. Let me rephrase that. I have no clue how to do spectator. Let's walk through our code and see if we can figure out how our spectator is working. Well, not how our spectator is working, how our code is set up. Okay, cool. That's what I thought. So when we spawn in as a valid player and it gets to the point where we have too many people, we are destroying the actor, is what we're doing. Somewhere in our game mode, so first thing off the top of my head is we could basically just destroy them in the character and then have the controller possess a spectator pawn. But I'm more curious on the fact that inside of our game mode, there's a few things. We have a spectator class, and we have overrides for spectating. And I have no idea how this stuff works. Where's it at? Yeah, see? So, like, for example, returns true if the new player controller may only join the server as a spectator. Let's see if this gets. Let's see where this gets printed out, shall we? Let's see what happens. Oh, let's let me save before I do this because we've had the good luck where things crash. Holy crap! Did you guys see that? Holy hell! That gets called like 20 times. Yeah, see, these are options that I have no idea. That's the whole point of this streams for networking, is trying to organically figure out how stuff works. But all that code gets called at some point, and you saw that got called multiple times. Let's see if we have one player. Let's see how many times it gets called for one player. 5 times. Let's see about 2 players. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's like 15 times for 2 players. Okay, so that. Oh man, what the. Okay, so returns whether the viewer is allowed to spectate for the point of view of view target, which makes sense if you're trying to do like a. Maybe spectating from someone else's existing camera. That's probably what this one's for. So here's my answer to this one. We are going to completely ignore this. Where'd it go? There we go. Must spectate, because I literally have no idea what must spectate does. We're going to go ahead and completely ignore that, and we're going to try to manually do something ourselves. Is what we're going to do. So this is run on the possess on the server is where this is ran. So let's try something. No, should we do that? So this is the controller. Yeah, just bear with me for a second. I have a feeling this is going to do this. This should do the same thing before, except we are calling it from the controller right now, which is what I want to see happen. Oh, this is going to work with only 2 people. 4, I need 4. Should get the same no, we did not get the same result. Why didn't we get the same result? Okay, let's find out. Access none. Okay, so that means this node is being called from. Yeah, we can't do that. So this stuff right here. This was, well, first of all, let me put this back on. This was simply code we put in to safe check. Basically, if we have too many people in the server, we forcibly kill it. This code should never honestly ever get called if our server is doing things properly. So in our game mode here, whenever we call spawn player, we should make sure we don't have too many players. We should never actually call this code to spawn in a player. We should allow them to possess a spectator instead of an actual player. So let's see how that works, shall we? So do we keep the same code called spawn player, or do we change it out and do, let's see, because we don't care about the player start. Okay, let's try something. Let's make a new custom event. We'll call this one, not custom event, we want a function. And we'll call this one spawn spectator, is what we're going to do. And we're basically going to, let's see, player controller. We're going to need the player controller. That, okay, so we have a player controller. And this same basic code, let's see, we only want to run this on the server. We don't need that. We spawn in our spectator class and we possess it. So let's just grab all this code here, paste it in here. We don't need that one. Assign that like that. We create a local variable. We don't need a player start, so we ignore this stuff right here. Oops. Wait, I was spawning in the spawn point. So we're going to have to get a transform, so that's fine. We'll set up our transform as, let's delete this. Yeah, let's see what happens when we do this, shall we? And then we make sure it is our spectator pod. I literally don't know what's going to happen here. I'm curious. So let's custom event server spawn spectator. That was not how you spell spectator. And this is a server event, so we're good there. And in theory, all we need to do here is spawn spectator, like that. And then the player controller is going to be, oh crap, this is gonna get okay, so yeah, we've got a lot of stuff. Lex, we are basically just screwing around with networking. Right now I'm trying to see about getting a basic team game mode working for networking purposes. And I can already see that I've foobarred a bunch of stuff here. This is called when somebody wants to spawn. I'm 99% sure that's called from here. Where's it at? It's player's controller and then server spawn. Yeah, so This is called from the UI. It talks to the controller and it tells the server to spawn the player. Server spawns the player. It determines the team number. At this point in time is where we need to determine if it's full or not. So a lot of the stuff, yeah, see, there's a lot of crappy, I'm going to be honest right here. Again, we're just experimenting with this stuff. There's a lot of crappy coding here. When the UI pops up here, for example, right now we're just literally allowing them to choose. The proper thing would be to obviously show like a player list, show me how many people are playing per team, and then show a spectator list to show how many people are spectating. So that way, when the UI pops up, it talks to the server, and then the server gives it the valid options. So, for example, if there's no spots on the blue team, we don't enable the blue team to even be chosen. We allow auto or whatever teams are left, or we allow the spectator. So I'm going to have to implement this really crappily. I have a feeling here. But let's just see if we can get it working. Yeah. I'm going to have this one in here. This is our code for spawning in the player and returning a team number. Let's go with if the team number is -1. Okay, so let's do that. Let's make that really simple here. So if it's equal to -1, then we know that we are now going to be a spectator. We don't have a valid team that we're going to be able to assign. And yeah, so if it's not -1, then we go and run this code right here. God, this thing needs so much cleanup right now. Why don't I move this stuff down? Like, would be smarter. So that way it doesn't look near as ugly. Like that. There we go. Okay. If it is -1, then we're going to need to spectate because our stuff's going to be full. And we'll do a simple check here, inside of here. And then at that point, then we just simply can... Oops, let me move all this stuff down. It's getting in the way. We'll just call server spawn spectator. And we're going to need to pass in the player controller. So that's this code right here. We already have this code right here coming in from our ID, so we can just steal it, which would help if we actually had an input for the player controller. I really like stuff like that. This is why I like blueprints a little bit more than the basic code, because, you know, like, I want to hook this up, so we'll hook it up. Oh, look, it doesn't go in there. I double click. Oh, boom, right here. We can add stuff. Just, you know, it flows really nicely. It may obviously look bad if we haven't cleaned it up, but it's really nice to jump back and forth and just easily add stuff, and it's fun. I think it's fun. Okay, cool. So what we need now is we need to be able to return -1. So at some point in here, if we have too many people on our server, we need to which is our code right here. So the cool thing is we already have code set up for this right here. We're technically checking it on the possess event. We'll just move it over to our game mode itself. And that should probably be run before we even do anything. So we're going to make even more room over here. At this point, we should really be assigning this to a local variable, so it's not as much of a mess. But we don't have to. Boop, there we go. So if we have room on the server, then we go ahead and run our code. If we don't have room on our server, then we find our return node, and we return -1. Now we have no room on the server. Now at this point, if we've set this up correctly, this code here should never run. This was only implemented as a safety check. Now in the actual game mode itself, it should be like, yo, we have too many people. Well, let's see. It's at the less than, right? Yeah, which is fine. Yeah. It goes those numbers. Yeah, this is still... screw it. We'll figure out if that works. Let's find out in a second. Auto. I have a spectator. There we go. I have a spectator spectator pawn spawn in. Granted, it spawned at a really crappy spot, but that's easy enough to fix if we wanted to. So let's find, where did our spectator go? Okay, someone's got too many tabs open. There we go. Spawn spectator. Let's see, 000. Let's put them up at 300. Let's try that. So we should have auto, team 1, auto, team blue. We hit auto. Oh, hell, we hit any of these, and boom, it spawns us in as a spectator because there's no room on the server. And at this point, you could even have a UI on the player that would even check the server maybe every so often to repopulate or try to rejoin. But we have a basic spectator on working now. And in theory, we have a spectator who can see spectating stuff. And everything should still be running properly because all of our server code, we haven't touched. The funny part about all of this is we haven't even technically even touched the server code. I mean, technically we did duplicate this event, but I mean, we already had existing code working in our here. We never actually made any real, we didn't do anything hard. This was all like data. It's just stuff. It's not like real networking. But that worked. That seems like it worked fine to me. If we set this to no, we want 4. Yeah, we want 4, and then we want our setup wherever the frick I did that, and then we'll do 2 teams, and we'll do 2 players. If we did this right, we should get auto, auto, spectator, spectator. There we go. Cool. Cool. I am happy with that. And the reason I say I'm happy with that is that was kind of one of the things I was trying to wrap up for today, was getting this working where we have things modular, obviously. I've been working on the networking for like 3 weeks at this point. I think we've got the basic handle of it. I was working on something really cool yesterday. Someone wanted to learn how to use blueprint interfaces for like a real-time strategy game. You click on a building, you tell it to build something, but then you could also click on a different building and build something. And he just wanted to understand how interfaces worked with it. And so it was a small little thing I tried to help him out with. But while doing it, I thought it would be really cool because he had some other questions like how do you handle the interface and things like that. I thought it'd be really cool to take like a day or two and knock out like a basic RTS interface interaction system. Not a real RTS, but like something where you have a screen and you click on something and that something tells the interface like these are your build options and this is what you've selected for information. And if I click on something else, it updates appropriately. And you have things kind of like a dynamic interface based on what you clicked on. Clicking on things uses interfaces to spawn other things. So kind of like a dynamic interface. I guess a dynamic interface would be a way of putting it. I literally have no idea the right way of doing it. But that's what we're going to start working on Wednesday. And it's going to be really stupid, but fun. Simply because I don't know the right way of doing it. I'm literally going to try stuff like having the units tell the interface what should be displayed and have the interface display them. Because I think that's the easiest way of doing it. That's literally as far as I thought about it, honestly. I think it would just be a fun little distraction. I like doing distractions every so often. This multiplayer, networking, is a lot of learning. And while it's been fun, it's nice to do that and then go to different things. And yet, like Kian has just said, he's done it in a different way. And there's probably a ton of different ways. And you need to replicate across the server. Yeah, there's a ton of different ways of doing things. So there's a lot of stuff I want to try to figure out. I think it would just be fun to do something like that. So other than that, well, for CB, in terms of what's next series, I'm just still working on networking for a little bit. Going back to AI and finishing up AI is probably going to be what's after this. Once we actually get networking into a stable state of learning. There's still a lot of stuff that's not quite understood. I mean, like we have our color map here, which we can spawn stuff in and we can change. We can see our different server replication stuff, and it allows us to learn rep notify and things like that. but I need to make a few more examples and things like that. So we have a color example to teach rep notify. We have a team example to teach how to a game mode might work. Spawning in players, finding player starts, assigning teams. Our team balancing is technically a side effect of that, and things like that. These will be WTF and HTF stuff. So we'll do WTF such as showing how replication works, server notifies, RPC calls, rep notifies, and things like that. HTFs for how would I use a different game mode in something, or even just concepts like here's a concept of a team game mode inside of multiplayer. Here's a concept of whatever. Those are things I'm gonna try to figure out. So yes, there'll be lots of videos of different things. So key in, the master pawn actually dictates the location and placement of the object. As in RTS, the master pawn will actually contain movement and all that, so you will need to replicate the movement position. Yeah, for RTS, I'm not going to be working on the RTS part of it. I'm not actually going to be working on the strategy part, the real time, or the time, I guess, is the T part. The goal of the next step is to not learn, but to try to do a RTS interface. So because RTS interfaces are very dynamic. You click on a farm, and for example, it may have the ability to harvest your wheat, or plant your wheat, or destroy it. But if you click on a building, it'll have things such as build a peon, or build a car, for example, or a ship, or you can queue things up, or you can upgrade if it allows upgrading. So basically trying to create a dynamic interface where the objects dictate, you click on an object and that object dictates what's shown on the screen. They're complicated, but I think it would be fun. I literally don't think I'm going to be doing it correct right now, but we'll figure that out. Yeah, every action you do via the interface is required to replicate the server. And I mean, that's not an issue. We're doing that right now. That's what our UI right now is doing. We have our replication for our controller, and we have our replication from the controller replicating to the server for our spawning. No, we actually handle that right now. So in terms of that one, for example, once you understand how the... not once you understand, but once your brain fully comprehends the fact that the server controls everything, what we have it set up in terms of here is our UI figures out what button we clicked on, grabs the player controller, tells the player controller using this call right here, which is a execute on the server, and tells the player controller, hey, they did this. And then the server, which the player controller resides on, tells the game mode, because only the game mode resides on the server. So we kind of have to do a handoff here. We hand off to the server version of our player controller, which hands off to the server version of the game mode. And then that handles our spawning and all of our stuff. So for your interface, you basically just have to find some sort of intermediary. And CB, yes, I plan on doing a series explaining content examples sometime this year if all goes well. That might actually be a very good idea to do after the AI and the multiplayer. Because not only will it give us something different to do probably every week, just simply exploring this with everybody, it'll give me updated content to do easily. No, that I plan to do this year. I've got a bunch of stuff I plan on doing. It just depends on some other stuff I have with Epic that might be happening as well. So there's a lot of stuff. Regardless of all of that, there'll still be the daily, either live stream or daily recorded videos, no matter what. Just doing stuff because stuff's fun. Okay, so we've been recording for 1 hour and 51 minutes at this point. Hopefully the people who had questions in the beginning, I got to them and helped them out. We did get to a good state of the game mode right now. I'm actually happy with it. Let's test it again. So we'll open up our team map. We have the ability to pick teams and they'll go on the teams. We have the ability to spectate if you get to the point where there's too many people. We have the basic auto balance. So if I chose blue and then hit auto, it would go to red. So we know that works. To add new player spawn points, we just simply add in new player spawn points. So I have like another one there, and I could assign it to team 2. So now we have, hell, you know what? We could do team 1 even. Poor team 3 is outnumbered in this case. We can go to our game mode, and we could set up, for example, 2 teams. Max number of players, you know, in this case could be 4. And now we should have that stuff. And the reason the blue auto did is because blue only had 1 spawn point. So that technically worked perfectly fine there. We only gave blue 1 place to possibly spawn, and it chose the only valid one. But we're able to have 4 people working fine. Mr. Horse, these videos do not become unlisted. They will show up immediately on Beam. They'll show up immediately on Twitch, and then after about an hour and a half of processing on YouTube side, they show up on YouTube under the normal video section. If you go look at the videos, you'll see all the previous ones. And this one will show up probably about an hour and a half. I'm happy with this. Okay, so that's going to wrap up today's video. I apparently have a crap ton of emails and Twitters and other things I have to respond to popped up while we were doing this. I appreciate everyone hanging out. Hopefully, if you didn't enjoy yourself, you maybe learned something. If you learned something, hopefully you enjoyed yourself. And if you didn't, then just let me know. Let me know maybe what else we could work on to help out. The next stream will be on Wednesday, approximately 10 o'clock Pacific in the morning, so roughly 2 hours before now. Tomorrow will just be another recorded one. Tomorrow will be the end of the debug series, because I know everyone's been excited about the debug videos. Tomorrow's is actually pretty cool because the string debug is actually kind of cool. Then I have to figure out what else to cover after that. I still don't have anything queued up, so I'll have to figure that out tomorrow. Tomorrow should be an epic live stream. Let's actually check, shall we? That's a good point. Let's see what may be for tomorrow. Forums, events. Oh, looks like it's a training live stream. Oh, come on, click events. I see training live stream. There we go. Okay, so tomorrow's stream is going to be Destructible Editor Features and Guide with Tim. So tomorrow looks like it's going to be a pretty cool little stream, learning Destructibles. So tomorrow will be Destructible Learning tomorrow. Yeah, so that'll be tomorrow. Other than that, hopefully everyone had a good day. I think I've said it twice now. Feel free to catch me on Twitch, on Beam, on YouTube. You can send me emails if you need to. It's in the About section on YouTube. You can put requests on YouTube. Just leave a general comment or message, preferably on something like the live stream or in the actual messaging section. We try to help people out every single day, so first things we try to work on is if anyone has questions, we try to help them out. If not, we go ahead and work on whatever random crap. And I think I've already mentioned the random crap. Starting Wednesday, we'll be trying to do some sort of a RTS-like dynamic user interface system thingy. I literally have no idea what to call it or what's going to happen, but I think it'll be fun playing with a dynamic UI. So everyone else have a good rest of their day, and I'm going to mute the stream. It's going to basically go dead for about 30 seconds, so it doesn't look like I simply disappeared for people on the stream.